What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B, and you're watching Dave B on TV, where we go beyond that everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And I'm feeling good today. Just pumping out a bunch of videos, you already know, because you're going to see a bunch of videos with the same damn shirt on. And you're going to be like, damn, like, this dude changed clothes. Like, no, it's the same day, dude. It's the same day. Relax. All right. So right now we're going to talk about the foundations of relationships. And so, there's many different relationships, of course, but I'm specifically talking about romantic relationships and long-term relationships, not really one-night flings. But, I guess these are things to know, because like sometimes one-night flings turn into long-term relationships, depending on how well they go and how y'all connect. But I just want to kind of talk about basically just four important pillars I think to consider when you're about to get into a serious relationship, or considering it, or even within it, and you're trying to look and find something to kind of help keep everything on the right track. So the first thing, if you're going into a relationship, you got to realize you are two individuals, meaning two people who are supposed to be whole within yourselves, and then choosing to connect. And I think a lot of relationships start on kind of faulty pretenses when one person feels lack or feels like they have to save the other one. You know what I'm saying? Like one person might feel like they're less than, and then you get into kind of these like savior complexes or motherly, fatherly joints, where it's like one person is looking for a parental figure within the other one. Now, like when it comes to psychology, right, on some level, we all kind of are doing this, you know what I'm saying? Not to be on some weird shit, but we all kind of are, looking for representations of that energy. But it's kind of like the line becomes very thin when we start talking about, okay, are you looking at me truly as this? Like, are you really looking for a mother, or are you really looking for a father? Like, you got to be careful, because then you become codependent, and you start to put certain responsibilities on them that maybe your own father or mother didn't fulfill within your relationship with them. And you got to realize that in order to have a healthy, mature relationship, you got to be able to be over that. You got to be able to have already learned your lesson through that, and be able to look beyond that shit. You know what I'm saying? And so it doesn't skew your perception of your relationship, because like I said, you're two individuals. So the person that you're choosing to be in this relationship with, they have their own experiences in life that they've accumulated. And so you guys have to find a way to balance that without dumping a lot of your own trauma on them. That's not their responsibility. You being happy is entirely your responsibility. Now, people, you got to be able to pinpoint when someone, no person you're in a relationship should be making you feel bad about yourself. That's a first red flag. You know what I'm saying? But you also can't depend on them to always make you feel good. It's good to feel good in their presence, but understand, have that individual, know when to pinpoint your individuality and be like, no, when I'm alone, and even if I don't talk to this person all day, I know how to make myself happy. You know what I'm saying? This person is just a bonus. And that's really how it should be. You shouldn't be looking at someone else you're in a relationship with to fulfill a piece of you. Now, when we start talking about the second pillar, this is kind of knowing how to relate, because a person should compliment you, should benefit you in a way. You know what I'm saying? Now, that's appropriate. Not so much looking for them to fulfill a space within you that you feel like you lack, but maybe to bring balance to something that you're not as strong on. For instance, if you know that you are kind of willy-nilly when it comes to your schedule, it's like you don't want to look in your partner and be like, demand that they keep you on schedule and ridicule them and criticize them when they can't keep you on schedule. No, you need to know how to correlate your own damn schedule. That's your responsibility. But this person, just the way they live their life complements how you live your life. So you live your life a little more free, and it allows you to make your own schedule, that because of how free that other person is, or maybe that person has a more stable job. So them being stable in their job forces you to be more stable. You know what I'm saying? Like but it's a good forcing. It's not like forcing as in like, damn, like I don't even got time for myself now. No, it's like you was trying to get more stable, but because this person has a stable job, it's easy for you to plan out your day because their schedule is so tight. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about complimenting, knowing how to relate rather than dependency, and feeling like now you know, or blaming somebody for your inability to do something on your own. Like, no, that's not their responsibility, you know, nor you know, on an emotional level, or like I just said, a physical level. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you know, that's the yeah, so that's so yeah. Another thing is creating boundaries. So you know, when you're in a relationship, a lot of times, you know, these you get you getting intimate with another individual, you know what I'm saying, but y'all are still individuals, right? So there's things that you should share on an intimate level, you know what I'm saying. If you're being intimate with somebody, there are certain things you should share, but you should always remember to create boundaries on the things that you want to create boundaries. First of all, you got to know yourself and know what things that you want to be boundaries, because a lot of times we don't know we have boundaries, or we don't know we want boundaries. So we get into relationships thinking that we want everything to be open, but then as soon as somebody hits a soft spot, we get in panic mode, you know what I'm saying? And either we push them away or we blow up in a way that the other person doesn't even understand. And a lot of times, you know, these might happen sporadically, but afterwards you should still communicate with your partner to let them know, hey, I'm sorry I spazzed out, but that's something I got to put a boundary on. I don't really like going there. And see, a lot of times in a relationship, there's always going to be someone who's a little more passive. So if you're the more passive individual, make sure that you're speaking up, because see, the thing is, it might be uncomfortable to do it, but doing it earns you a lot more respect. Because when someone can verbally, like when you are able to communicate your boundaries to another individual, it then becomes in their court whether they're going to respect that and honor that, or whether they're going to go against that or not disregard it. And that's a clear sign within you to know that, okay, if this person is just disregarding what I told them, I don't need to be with this individual, no matter how good they make me feel. And like a lot of people miss that point. But see, if you don't communicate it, you've never set the stage for that to be a deal breaker or a boundary. And if they overcross that boundary and you haven't communicated what your boundaries are, you can't get them mad at them. They don't know. They don't know how you truly feel about that. You know, that's the thing. We are all individuals at the end of the day, meaning we're coming from our own individual spaces, meaning that's a space that no one else can see unless we express it and show it. And even with expressing and showing, people might miss the point based upon how they see the world. So it's it gets dicey. So you have to be clear, and you have to make sure you do speak, you know. You make sure you speak up and show people what the fuck you with and what you not with. You know what I'm saying? That's important. Don't be too passive. You can't be too passive, even if it's somebody that you love, you know, even parents included, you know, and it's super hard to do it with them. But yeah, but let's get back to, you know, what we're talking about, romantic relationships with a partner and stuff like that. So the next next pillar is going to be relating mentalities, or sharing mentalities without competing. So like a lot of times in relationships, because like especially when they go on for a long time, you can start to get into an energy where it becomes a tit for tat thing. Like, you know, regardless, when you're sharing space with any individual, you're going to start to nitpick at certain things that tick you off. Right now, this is just an esoteric representation of y'all needing space spiritually. Like y'all just need an emotional space. Maybe you need to spend a day over here in this room doing this thing on your own, and she needs to be over there doing that. You know, when people are too clingy, you know, this is why, like, you know, even if, you know, like when people say they need space, they just need some emotional space or spiritual space. You know, it's not always about the physical space and being in proximity with each other. But a lot of times, if you are sharing space, like say y'all live together or something like that, it plays out like that by default. You know what I'm saying? Where, you know, if y'all spending too much time together, just the way a person breathes can be too much for you at a point, you know what I'm saying? And people don't realize that and go overboard and start burning bridges. And then, you know, when the transit pass, or the time, whatever they was frustrated about passes, you know, the funny thing is, y'all don't even remember what it was that y'all was arguing about, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, you done burned the bridge because you let that shit get to your head. And then, you know, but my point is, like, you know, you want to share mentalities, right? when you're sharing space, you're going to share mentalities. And when you're sharing mentalities, it's important to not get in competition mode where now one person is always trying to prove the other one wrong or prove that they're right about a situation. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, like, learn how to communicate, but without the competitive, now some people love competitive energy, and that's just how y'all relationship work. And if that's the case, then yeah, so be it. But for people who rather have a more harmonious union and don't really want to compete in that way, understand, like, because I think that competition in relationships can be healthy, if y'all are competing mentalities and it's like y'all like to debate, so like, especially if y'all got certain air alignments or something like that, say y'all Venus and Aquarius, you might like to debate. I said debate or have intellectual conversations, and that's cool and all, but like, make sure it doesn't get on the tit for tat end of a competition where now you can't wait to prove someone wrong or right. What I'm saying? You can't wait to try to prove someone's dumb or something like that. You can get like malicious with it and try to like hurt people's feelings, and now it's like, okay, well, who can hurt each other's feelings the most? Who can make the other one jealous in a way that's like, well, you can't be mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be mad at me. I'm gonna have female friends too. You got male friends, I'm gonna have female. Like, don't get into that competition where it's tit for tat, but share mentalities. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to mentally spar with each other, but don't, know your limits. And this goes with all the other pillars. Know your boundaries. Know not to cross certain lines and stuff like that. A lot of times we get into competition mode, but we don't know, we end up going too far. You know what I'm saying? Then it becomes a tit for tat. Next thing you know, you in a relationship with your enemy. You wake up, the first thing on your mind is like, all right, how can I piss this person off? Or how can I prove that I'm the more important person in this relationship? Or how can I prove that I'm right? I'm smarter than this individual? Because, whatever it is, but that's narcissism and egotistical energy when you tap into that. And that shit is destructive in relationships, because the ego is all about the self, and even though you're individuals in a relationship, you're choosing to relate to them. And a lot of times the way we relate to ourselves reflects how we relate to other people. So keep that in mind as well. Make sure you relate to yourself well. Do you up yourself, or, are you a good friend to yourself? Are you a good lover to yourself? Or, do you love yourself? A lot of people don't even love themselves and be trying to catch themselves into relationships. And this goes into the first point. They be looking at someone else to fulfill that love for them. No, baby, you got to love yourself first. And how you love yourself will reflect what kind of partner you attract. So if you were the person you like, man, this motherfucker, I don't like them, and they nasty to you, and they, disrespect you and shit like that, maybe on some level you don't love yourself and you disrespect yourself. So you got to check that first, before you even jump into a relationship, real shit. But getting back on point, what I'm saying? So, you got to be careful when it comes to this kind of energy and getting into relationships in general. It's a very slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? A very thin line, because everyone is an individual. So even though they're choosing to relate for the moment, some people might not even be there for the long haul. And that's another thing you got to be careful of. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all can't go through the arguments and you can't stand up for what you got to say, and, then maybe you shouldn't be in that relationship. And that's just something to consider, because you'll have people who want to just walk on eggshells throughout the whole relationship. Now, that's on the other shift end of person with boundaries. If a person has too many boundaries to where you can't even connect to them on an intimate level, they've got so many insecurities, they can't even let you get in to know who they are, and they done built so many shields that they don't even know who they are. They just playing a different position, like they playing a different role, they playing a character, because they not even a real person. They just a amalgamation of a bunch of insecurities that created a separate persona for them when they go out and interact with the world. Now you got to be careful of these people too. Like that's too much. You need to be with somebody who's healthy within and who loves themselves, who they've already melted down a lot of their insecurities, so where you can connect to them on an intimate level, because you can't connect to anybody intimately without them being able to put down a guard or let down certain boundaries. You know what I'm saying? But boundaries are important in the beginning of a relationship, when a person's getting to know you, so they know where not to go too fast, and you can ease them in. But when say you in a long-term relationship and this person's still not letting some of these boundaries go and letting you know why they have developed insecurities in these areas, then that might be a sign that you need to reevaluate who you with as well. They might need some healing to do that they haven't done. And, you know, it's okay waiting for certain people and being patient for certain people, but also realize that you shouldn't do that at the sacrifice or at the expense of your life and your experience. You know what I'm saying? Some people are slower than others. Some people won't ever open up and won't ever be how you think they are. And so you got to also remember that you can't change anybody. They got to change on their own. So if you with somebody and you don't like their behavior and you're banking on them to change, women do this a lot of times with men, thinking that they're going to change their mentality. You got to realize you can't change anybody. The only person you can change and have power over is your goddamn self. And any power you think you have over another individual, because men think they have power over, and women too think they can manipulate men. I'm tripping over my words, talking too fast, but you got to realize that all that power is an illusion, and you're only having power over them because they're choosing to let you have power over them. You know, and vice versa. If you getting power and taking out, you feel like your partner's controlling all your shit. Understand, you allowed them to do that to you. So think about that. And get the fuck away from them, because that's toxic and you don't need that in your life. And then lastly, you know, this kind of goes inside with compatibility. So compatibility is you asking yourself, can you live with this person? Can you cohabitate? Like, can you live with this person? Could you live with this? Like, I always thought it was ironic, right? Somebody who's a little more traditional was telling me that you know, with relationships or marriage, right, that it's important to get married. Like the right way to get married is to get married and then move in with somebody and then have sex or something like that. You know, sex like that. Like, look, what you choose to do is you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not picking on that, but I just thought it was funny and ironic how, you know, being in a relationship with someone, no matter how long, is 100% different when you living with them. To actually share space with an individual is a whole different process. Like, sharing space is all about learning boundaries on a whole different level, because now this person is literally in your face 24/7, and y'all have to now build schedules around each other. You have to learn how the other person lives, their hygiene, how they keep their space. Is their space cluttered? And what smells do they eat? Like, I mean, it comes down to the most minute things, like how they smell 24 hours a day. Like, these are small things that, like, you might not know if you don't live with them. You know what I'm saying? And like, I just thought that was interesting. But like I said, how you choose to go about your relationship, that's up to you, man. But I just thought it was ironic. Like, for me, what's important as far as a pillar is to knowing if you're compatible with someone. Can you live with them? Can you coexist in the same area? Do your elements work? Because sometimes, see, you can be with an individual and they might be excited at all the times that you want to be relaxed. So if you don't like that, someone being excited around you when you want the vibe to be relaxed, that might not be a compatible relationship. If they're always super calm in the moments where you're trying to be excited and you getting lit, you might not like that. Or, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got to know, like, am I energetically compatible with this individual? Do we share the same emotional, you know what I'm saying? And these change when you live with somebody. When you live with somebody, some things that they do rub off on you. Some of their vibes rub off on you, and vice versa. That could always play out, you know? And like I always say, when it comes to relationships and anything dealing with this kind of shit, this is beyond your natal chart. This is your spirit. So your spirit can do whatever it wants. It can find a way to do whatever it wants. It doesn't matter. It's not all about like what the natal chart says you're compatible with, or, you know, whatever. Even like, you know, looks and stuff like that, physicality. It's like, it just depends on the spirits coming together and choosing to relate, you know. So don't ever think you're a slave to your natal chart or anything like that, or your synastry chart. Just because you got certain planets in certain areas, you know, it might play out in certain ways. But if you're strong enough spirits, you can make it work. You know, you can make anything work. But, you know, my point is just like, you know, so think about compatibility. Do y'all mesh? Do y'all work together well? You know what I'm saying? Do y'all energies help each other? Do they benefit each other? You know? And yeah, so these are just kind of like 4 pillars to kind of pay attention to when you're getting into relationships, or if you're already in a relationship and trying to just see it for what it is and stuff like that. You know, these are just things to really pay attention to, because these are the foundations of a healthy relationship. And without these things, you might not be building something worth staying in. you know, you might be building something that might end up being your worst nightmare. You know what I'm saying? So just be careful, you know, because relationships can play out as cages, you know what I'm saying? And you go your whole life in a relationship and waste all your time, waste all your youth. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, be careful out here, man. Much love. I am going to be doing, you know, readings like this, like a relationship reading. So, you know, not necessarily synastry readings. Well, it'll be synastry, but I might not do it the traditional way, you know. But I'll let you know more information if you have questions. Just hit me up, you know, DM me on IG and Twitter at Dave Beyond TV, or send me an email at davebeyond95@gmail.com. And until next time, peace and much love.